He now owns the WBA, WBC, and WBO titles as Canelo Alvarez puts on an absolute show in front of a record crowd of more than 73,000 fans, breaking the record for the largest indoor crowd in U.S. boxing history. The previous record was Muhammad Ali against Leon Spinks, which was back in 1978. So that's how massive this fight was. That's how big the draw is for Canelo. And he certainly sent the fans home happy there in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium. And for more, let's welcome in CBS Sports combat analyst and co-host of Morning Combat, Brian Campbell. Brian, they stopped the fight after the 8th round. What's your reaction to what went down in Texas?
Canelo Alvarez is really, really good. Pound for pound best in the sport. In fact, look, you can look at that from the outside looking in and be a little bit disappointed the second it seemed that Saunders had made the mid-fight adjustments to show us, that potential he had coming in of being a kind of kryptonite type fighter, showing a different style. He had his moments in the midpoint of this fight, but once Canelo Alvarez was able to step up his pace and sit down on those hard, accurate counter shots, that beautiful right uppercut from in close, it damaged Saunders' eye. You could see that. He didn't come out for the 9th round. The fight was stopped. He told his corner he could not see through that eye. Canelo Alvarez has carried his power up to 168 pounds and really a surprising faction. He's got the speed, he's got the defense, and he's got the IQ. And whether you love Saunders or not, no one's beaten him in the past. He has a style that is hard to look good against. It may have taken Canelo a few rounds, but he's the best in the world for a reason. As soon as this fight was close, he made the championship adjustment, and he got another hungry, unbeaten champion out of there.
You had Saunders winning rounds 5, 6, and 7. What did you see out of the guy who hadn't lost in his professional career?
Well, look, I think he was a bit timid to open the fight. I thought he was going to have his biggest success early. He had trouble with Alvarez, who was going hard to the body, and I think was quicker than Saunders expected. But let's give Saunders his credit in that mid-fight adjustment. He was able to stand in front of Canelo, land his sort of cheeky shots from awkward angles, and most importantly, show some really responsible defense in close, despite being in a very daring position. You saw Saunders taking the lead, getting out in front, establishing his jab, and like I mentioned, crouching from different angles, landing in looping shots. I don't want to say Canelo was confused, but his output lowered. And once Canelo wasn't able to land shots as cleanly as he was early, you saw Saunders get confident. You saw the swagger, slapping himself in the chin, trying to rile Canelo to step up his game and come forward. The problem for Saunders is in round 8, that's exactly what Alvarez did, making his own adjustment, going back to being the aggressor. And you can really only stand in front of Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds for so long. He's quick, he's powerful, he's got better technique than most, he's smarter than the rest, he's got great defense. He's really the perfect fighter at this point in the prime of his career, and you saw why once you put it on Billy Joe Saunders.
The fight was awesome, and the buzz and the crowd, and whether you can be the judge of whether or not it's safe or a super spreader or whatever. We're not going to go there. But, I mean, it's more than 73,000. It's a record crowd. I mean, you saw how much that helped Canelo Alvarez in that 8th round as he hands Billy Joe Saunders his first professional loss. What's your biggest takeaway?
The boxing fans are hungry to get back at it. We've seen UFC come back. We've seen other sports start to fill the arenas. Major League Baseball. Boxing felt like it needed this, and certainly Canelo in Texas, where he always draws a big crowd, not far from where he's from in Mexico. He is a rock star. You saw that in the entrances, the big elaborate stage, the mariachi band playing, the crowd cheering for him. He is living up to really every aspect of what comes with this job. Canelo's in that rare spot where he's the pound-for-pound best in the game. He's also the sport's biggest draw, pay-per-view star, and really the face of what's going on in the sport, really separate from fighters from the previous generation like a Floyd Mayweather. Canelo is still looking to face the most difficult challenges available, and in the modern times, you just don't see that. So, yes, boxing's healthy despite what you hear, and Canelo Alvarez can draw a crowd seemingly against anyone. This fight felt a lot bigger than maybe you would have thought if you hadn't heard of Billy Joe Saunders coming in.
All right, so we know that he wants Caleb Plant next. What would that prove for Canelo Alvarez if he were to defeat him?
Well, he's trying to become the first Mexican fighter to be an undisputed champion, holding all 4 of the recognized titles in one division at a certain time. And look, we weren't even sure Canelo Alvarez could compete at 168. He's small for this weight class. Heck, he wasn't too big as a middleweight or junior middleweight either. But when Canelo established himself at 168, he doesn't have to kill his body to cut down. Like I said, he still carries his power up. He's incredibly fast. He made a decision that this is his prime weight class, and he wanted to clean it out. He's got 3 of the 4 belts. The 4th one is around Caleb Plant's belt waist, the unbeaten IBF champ. Look, Plant is a quick boxer, a smart boxer, maybe not a power puncher, but either was Saunders in this one. Could he give the same sort of threat and challenge that Saunders just did? Maybe. But you have to love Canelo Alvarez looking at the landscape and saying, I want to finish what I started here at 168, and then when I'm done, hey, I might go up to light heavyweight and try to win titles there, which he had done in the past as well. Truly a remarkable fighter in the prime of what he can do here in his career.
Well, whenever they get a date set for that, I can't wait for that one. Looking forward to that because this was certainly special to watch there in Arlington, Texas, as Canelo Alvarez defeats Billy Joe Saunders via TKO. Breaking it down, Brian Campbell here on CBS Sports HQ. BC, thanks. And hey, for all things combat, join Brian Campbell and Luke Thomas on Morning Combat. You can watch the series on YouTube. You can also listen to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Always a good time had by all. Morning Combat. Download and subscribe today.
No fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.